What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a bit of an NBA discussion video that I wanted to, kind of bring to you guys. A topic that I've been really wanting to talk about actually for quite a while right now, and that is actually about the Chicago Bulls' most recent trade and how I think they might have just actually had one of the biggest W's of this offseason in this trade. And it could legitimately be the most kind of lopsided trade, I think, nearly this offseason, because how the Chicago Bulls did what they did in this trade is absolutely beyond me. Basically, they had Lauri Markkanen as a restricted free agent who was, not getting any offers from teams. It was just reported that, teams were trying to sign him, but they didn't have enough cap because Lauri wanted heaps. So basically, they were just going to offer up a bad contract. That could still be a good role player to see if, maybe the Bulls took on that player. Of course, I'm assuming the Bulls denied 20 different trades, but somehow the Cleveland Cavaliers managed to organize a trade that was actually going to send Larry Nance to the Portland Trailblazers. Then they actually started talking with the Chicago Bulls and basically organized this 3-team trade that actually sent the Cleveland Cavaliers Lauri Markkanen, it sent the Trailblazers Larry Nance, and it sent the Chicago Bulls Derrick Jones Jr., a lottery-protected first, and a second-round pick. Basically, the Chicago Bulls managed to get all of that out of a player that they could have possibly, lost in free agency for nothing. Not just that, the offers they were getting for this player were bad contracted players that really haven't done anything in the NBA. Like the Solomon Hill types who, I don't even know if they're still on their bad contracts. I don't think so, but those type of players, they were getting offered, and of course they were going to say no to them. And it almost seemed like it was going to be a dream that they got even a solid player out of Lauri Markkanen. And not only did they get a solid player, but they actually got the most perfect player for this team, who's a way better player for them than what Lauri Markkanen was. Pretty much they traded Lauri Markkanen, who is a very good three-point shooting big man who can stretch the floor at that 4 position. So yeah, basically they traded him away, which is really nothing to the Bulls, because getting rid of Lauri Markkanen, not bringing him back, is actually the best case scenario for them, because Lauri Markkanen and Vucevic backcourt was never going to work, or front court rather, so they kind of went about this in a way where they were just hold on a second, we're not going to bring him back, we're not going to probably get anything back for him, So basically they were just going to let him go anyway, because he would have just made the team worse, because we saw how bad he was with Vucevic. But they pretty much let him go, but were able to bring back Derrick Jones Jr., who will be a much better player for them than Lauri Markkanen is, because he's a great defender, something they really needed more of in free agency. They needed maybe another scorer and a couple of really great defenders and a playmaker. They brought Lonzo Ball in, playmaking defender, brought Caruso in, a defender, and they brought Derrick Jones Jr. in, another defender, and of course, DeMar DeRozan, who's a very good scorer. So basically, the last 2 pieces they probably end up needing is another good defender and a backup power forward. And you bring in Derrick Jones Jr., who can defend the power forward position, can guard 1 through 5 really, and can be a very good defender for the team. And not only did they bring Derrick Jones Jr. in for Lauri Markkanen, which would have already been a good trade, but they managed to bring in a lottery-protected first-round pick and a second-round pick, which I'm sure will all be used for, trades here and there. And let's just say the Trailblazers don't do too good this season, but they still make the playoffs, and it's the 17th pick. Dude, that's the 17th pick that the Chicago Bulls now have that they can trade for, to use in a package to get maybe another star down the line, or maybe use it to add some more role players, or even a backup power forward in the future. The Chicago Bulls legitimately just did a highway robbery and really made something out of nothing, because why would you even bother, bring back Lauri Markkanen when he's just going to hinder your team? So basically, in a way, the Chicago Bulls have just had one of the best, trades in the NBA. In my opinion, it's kind of crazy, because they went from getting absolutely robbed by the Spurs, where the Spurs were able to get a first-round pick and something else, and Thad Young out of a player that was going to leave them. They kind of got robbed there. I did not think they needed to give up, a first round pick, considering DeMar was already leaving. In my opinion, they got robbed there. And I think the Spurs had one of the best trades. But then they somehow kind of, reversed this and said, alright, we're not done yet. Let's go out and make one more trade and just see how we go. In my opinion, I think they'll have a pretty good season. I think they'll be about a 7th, 6th seed maybe. But I think what will hurt them severely is that they really don't have a backup power forward or a backup center. I'm still assuming that Derrick Jones is going to play backup small forward predominantly. And their 9th to 15th man rotation is pretty bad. So in my opinion, I think there's a couple moves you can do. I think you offer like Paul Millsap a mid-level exception. I think that would actually be a really nice thing for them. I think you offer like the minimum to for DeMarcus Cousins rather. And then I think those can be your two like backup big men you can bring in who can help you contend. Then you pretty much go from having like a really solid 8-man rotation, but not much, other than that, to having like a really solid 10-man rotation where players like Tony Bradley and that become more effective because they'll only come in if like severely needed. Whereas though right now, Tony Bradley will probably be playing around 12 minutes, 15 minutes per game, which is something you don't want as a Bulls fan. Like, he is their backup center, and they really don't have a backup power forward either. I believe they got this young guy, but come on now. This where this team is, I just still feel like they need a backup power forward and another defender, and they got that other defender in Derrick Jones. Now go and get that backup power forward, be Paul Millsap, and then I think you still need a backup center, but that's probably the last thing you're worrying about right now. But this Bulls team is almost like one of the best in the NBA. They've just got to kind of work it out together and hope Billy Donovan doesn't fumble under pressure like he has in previous seasons with OKC, and hope that he can kind of build this thing into being a pretty solid team. But again, getting Derrick Jones Jr., a first-round pick, even though it's protected, the second-round pick out of a player that they weren't even going to bring back is legitimately a highway robbery, and I have no idea how they were able to end up doing this. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest sports content and sports news. Of course, don't forget to comment your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Do you guys think Derrick Jones Jr. was a good pickup by the Chicago Bulls? One thing I also forgot to mention as well is they were interested in him last season, so it's kind of come back full circle. But yeah, definitely let me know down below. And of course, don't forget to check out my podcast as well if you haven't already, which I will all link in the description down below. But as I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.